name is Jacqueline McElroy, and I'm just your typical everyday book lover. And this year, I read all kinds of books. I've read romance books where two people find their happily ever after. I've also read mystery books, fantasy books. Really, I read all sorts of genres. But one of the recent books I finished, yeah, this one's different. This is the book Adelaide, and it took me a while to get through. So let me explain. I found out about the book Adelaide on the Goodreads app. And if you're on that app, go ahead and follow your girl. But anyway, back to the story. I found out about this book on one of my friend's TBR lists. And when I seen it, really the main thing that stood out to me was the cover. The cover is dainty, mute, beautiful. When I looked at it, it screamed vulnerability to me. So the next step was to just go find the book. So one day I was at my local library and I was just browsing for another book. But then I came across this book, so I had to get it. So after life cooled down, I ended up picking up this book. And after a couple pages, I knew I was in for a ride. So if I had to describe this book in 3 words, it would be toxic, heartache, and selfless. If you're looking for a book that deals with mental health, comparison, and friends, yeah, this book is for you. So in this story, it follows a young girl in her mid-20s named Adelaide. One of the things that I admire about her, but is also her downfall, is that she fills everybody else's cup up before her own. You see, one of Adelaide's struggles is that she sees potential in people instead of for who they really are. And because of that, it led her down a lane of heartache and battling against mental health. But I kind of get Adelaide because I struggled with that myself in high school. I always saw the potential in people instead of seeing them for who they really were, and that ended up biting me in the butt. So Adelaide ends up finding a guy who she thinks is her Prince Charming, her happily ever after, her fairy tale. Well, remember when I said Adelaide sees potential in people instead of for who they really are? So her fairy tale ends up turning into her worst nightmare. Her nightmare consisted of depression, shame, guilt, bipolar issues, suicidal thoughts. Adelaide thought it was over for her. Essentially, Adelaide had lost all hope, given up everything, including life. Which I feel like when somebody fails us, that's what a lot of us do, whether we want to admit it or not. The reason why it took me so long to finish this book is because of what this book consisted of. Genevieve Wheeler, the writer, she compacted into this small story a whole bunch of traumatic things that I feel like a lot of us can relate to. A lot of us can pick some trait of Adelaide and say, dang, that's me, as if there's a mirror in front of us. And so not everything in the book was I able to relate to, but there were a few things where it's like, ouch, that's what I look like, that's what I do. And you hurt for Adelaide, you hurt for this character. This is not meant to be a quick read. It's not meant to be one of those fun, happy romances. This is a contemporary romance filled with traumatic things that people go through, real people go through. And so that's why it took me so long to finish this book. And on top of that, I am a new mom, so I got a baby that wants to eat all the time or wants to be held. So, you know, I can only pick up the book so many times and put it down so many times until I get through it. So I give this book a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. The reason why I could not give it a full 5 is because not everything in the book I can relate to. This is Adelaide's story, not mine. Like I said before, that there are some parts that I can relate to. But because of that, I couldn't give it that full 5. And also there's a lot of trigger and trauma warnings and events that take place in this. But would I recommend this book? I definitely would. But if you are going through a season of depression or struggle, maybe not read it, but that's up to your judgment. So like I said, Adelaide is full of so many emotions, so much trauma that I feel like some of us as young women and even older women can go through. She went through all this stuff at the age of 20. And I guess the real question is, does she get her happy ending? Well, I guess you'll have to find out yourself.